A cop laughed at my granddaughter for claiming Clint Eastwood was her grandfather. Then I walked into that hallway. What unfolded next, what I said, what I did, has haunted me every single day since. I'm sharing it with you tonight not for praise or headlines, but because what Maya endured that morning happens to far too many children in far too many schools. And it has to end. Let me take you back to the beginning. I'm 94 years old. I've weathered a long life, crafted countless films, shaken hands with presidents and strangers alike. People throw words at me, legend, icon, titles that sit uncomfortably on my shoulders, because beneath it all, I'm just a man. Flawed, learning, trying to do right by those I love. One of those people is Maya Richardson, my granddaughter. But before I tell you what happened to her, you need to understand how she became mine. Context matters. The early 70s. I was still clawing my way up, still discovering who I was behind the camera and in front of it. That's when I met Catherine, beautiful razor sharp, a costume designer navigating Hollywood with dreams bigger than what the industry believed black women deserved. We connected deeply, briefly, but it was real. Catherine was black. I was white. Even in Hollywood, especially in Hollywood, that combination carried weight. We felt the stares, the whispers, the unspoken calculation that being together could torch both our futures. So we stayed hidden, perhaps too hidden. When Catherine discovered she was pregnant, she made a choice I wouldn't learn about for decades. She didn't tell me, not because she doubted I'd step up, but because she refused to be cast as someone trapping a rising star. Pride ran deep in her veins. She raised Diana, my daughter, alone, with love, with steel, with everything a child needs to become whole. Diana grew up not knowing her father. Catherine eventually told her in her 20s, and Diana, brave, determined Diana, reached out. That letter changed everything. She explained who she was, who Catherine was, and asked one thing. Would I take a paternity test? No demands for money or spotlight. Just truth. I took the test. When the results confirmed Diana was mine, a hurricane of emotions tore through me. Regret for missing her childhood. Fury at myself for not knowing. Gratitude to Catherine for raising someone extraordinary. And fierce determination to be present, even though I'd already lost so much time. Diana and I built something real. Slowly, carefully, with patience and grace from both sides. When she had Maya 6 years later, I gained the title I treasure most, grandfather. It means more than every statue and trophy combined. Maya knew me as Grandpa Clint. Not the director, not the gunslinger, just Grandpa. Distance kept us apart more than I wanted, work, geography, life. But I showed up for what mattered. Birthdays, holidays, school plays when schedules aligned, phone calls about her grades, books I thought would challenge her beautiful mind. Maya is extraordinary. Quiet brilliance. A reader, a writer, a thinker whose brain never stops questioning the world around her. She makes you proud simply by existing. But Maya is also black. Her mother is black. And in America, that means she carries burdens I've never shouldered. I know this. I've always known this. And I've tried imperfectly to understand and support her through it. Which brings me to last November, a Tuesday that shattered everything. I'd cleared my calendar to surprise Maya with lunch. She'd been struggling, new school, friend dynamics, the crushing weight of teenage existence. I thought a meal together would help. Simple. Or so I believed. I arrived at Lincoln High around 9:30 a.m., signed in at the office, explained I was taking my granddaughter to lunch. The staff recognized me immediately. The usual flutter, autographs, photos, breathless excitement. I'm used to it. I waited while they worked out the logistics of pulling Maya from class early. Then a junior named Sophia burst through the door, gasping for air, clearly shaken. She rushed to Mrs. Chun, one of the administrators, and started talking urgently. I wasn't eavesdropping, but fragments reached me, something about a hallway, a police officer, a student. Mrs. Chen's face drained of color. Her eyes found mine, and I saw something shift in them. Recognition. Fear. She excused herself from Sophia and approached me carefully. "Mr. Eastwood," she said quietly, "you need to come with me." There's been an incident involving Maya. My heart stopped. What kind of incident? Is she hurt? Not physically, but, she hesitated, measuring her words like grenades. One of our school resource officers stopped her in the hallway. There was a confrontation. Maya mentioned you're her grandfather, and he, Mr. Eastwood, he laughed at her. In front of dozens of students. It was recorded. I think you should see it. She pulled out her phone. 45 seconds that ignited my blood. I watched a large white officer, Derek Hansen, I'd learn later, stop Maya in a crowded hallway. Watched his hand land on her shoulder, heavy and possessive. Watched him demand her ID, question where she was going like she was a suspect. Watched him order her backpack open, his thick fingers rifling through her belongings like she'd committed a crime. Maya's face, God, her face. Frightened, confused, trying to understand why this was happening. Then I heard her voice, shaking but defiant. My grandfather is Clint Eastwood. My family is full of people who've accomplished things you can't even imagine. Maybe you should think twice before making assumptions about people you don't know. Hansen laughed. A booming, mocking sound that echoed off the lockers. He turned to another officer. Did you hear that? Her grandfather is Clint Eastwood. Sure he is, sweetheart. And my uncle is the president. He looked back at Maya, grinning like a predator. You know what I think? I think you're a little girl caught acting suspicious, making up stories to sound important. Clint Eastwood. That's hilarious. I watched my granddaughter's face crumble. Watched her fight back tears. Watched humiliation crush her like a physical weight. The powerlessness of being called a liar when you're screaming the truth. The video ended. I stood in that office, shaking with rage I hadn't felt in years. Where is he? My voice came out low. Controlled. Dangerous. Where is this officer? Still in the main hallway. The principal is handling it. Mr. Eastwood, you don't need to. Yes, I do. I cut her off. Get Maya. Bring her to that hallway. Get the principal down there too, because this ends right now. Mrs. Chen nodded. She understood. She made calls while I stood there, trying to breathe, try to think through the white-hot fury consuming me. Here's what you need to understand. I'm not a violent man. I've played violent characters, sure, but that's fiction. In real life, I believe in dialogue, in reason, in finding solutions through words. But watching that video, seeing my granddaughter humiliated that way, something primal woke up inside me. The grandfather's instinct to protect. 5 minutes later, I was striding down Lincoln High's main hallway with Principal Morrison on one side and Maya on the other. Students passed between classes, and as recognition rippled through them, silence spread like wildfire. Phones emerged. Kids froze. Everyone sensed something seismic was about to detonate. Officer Hansen stood in the same spot where he'd stopped Maya, laughing with a couple other officers. Completely comfortable. Completely unaware. I walked straight up to him, stopped 3 feet away, and stared. It took him a moment to notice me. When he did, his laugh died mid-breath. His face cycled through confusion, recognition, disbelief, and finally, fear. Officer Hansen. My voice was quiet, but in that silent hallway, it carried like thunder. I'm Clint Eastwood, and I believe you met my granddaughter this morning. You could have heard a heartbeat. Hansen's mouth opened and closed. No sound. I've seen the video, I continued. Watched you stop Maya without cause. Watched you search her belongings without justification. Watched you put your hands on her. And then, this is my favorite part, I watched you laugh in her face when she told you the truth. When she said, I'm her grandfather. I stepped closer. You thought she was lying. You thought there was no way a black girl from this school could be related to me. That's what you thought, isn't it? Hansen finally found his voice, weak and uncertain. Mr. Eastwood, I didn't know. She didn't look. Didn't look like what? I cut him off like a blade. Didn't look like someone who could be related to me? Why is that, officer? Because she's black? Let me educate you real quick. My daughter is black. My granddaughter is black. And they're both incredible human beings who deserve respect, not harassment from someone sworn to protect them. The other officers backed away. Students recorded everything. Principal Morrison looked like he wanted to dissolve into the floor. "You know what bothers me most?" I said, boring into Hanson's eyes. "It's not that you didn't believe Maya. You'd never met her. You didn't know our family. Fine. I can almost understand skepticism. What destroys me is how you treated her, before she even mentioned my name. You stopped her for no reason. Searched her for no reason. Made her feel like a criminal for the crime of walking down a hallway while black." I gestured at the hallway full of students, many of them white. "Did you stop any of these other kids today? Search their bags? Question where they were going? Or was it just Maya?" Hanson's silence was its own confession. "I've played cops in movies," I said. "Good cops. Cops who understood the badge meant protection, not power. Cops who saw people as human beings, not threats. You're not that kind of cop. You're the kind who uses authority as an excuse to bully kids who can't fight back." I turned to address the watching students. "Let me tell you all something. I've had extraordinary success in my life. Fortune beyond measure. And with that came power. A platform, a voice people actually listen to. I could use that voice for 1,000 things. But right now, I'm using it for this. To tell you that what this officer did to my granddaughter is wrong. Not just wrong. Unacceptable. Racist. And exactly the kind of behavior that destroys trust between communities and the people sworn to protect them." I looked back at Hanson. "You owe Maya an apology. A real one. Not because I'm standing here. Not because you're embarrassed. Because what you did was wrong, and you need to own it." Hanson swallowed hard. He looked at Maya, tears streaming down her beautiful face. "I'm sorry," he mumbled. "Louder," I demanded. "And be specific. Tell her exactly what you're sorry for." Hanson's face turned crimson. "Maya, I'm sorry for stopping you without a valid reason. I'm sorry for searching your bag. I'm sorry for not believing you when you told me about your grandfather. I was wrong." I pressed harder. And I'm sorry for laughing at you, for embarrassing you in front of everyone. It was unprofessional and cruel." Maya nodded, accepting it, though I could see the apology didn't erase the wound. I turned to Principal Morrison. "What are you going to do about this?" He cleared his throat. "Officer Hanson will be removed from the school immediately. There will be a full investigation. We take these matters very seriously." "Do you?" I challenged. "Because, from what I understand, this isn't Hanson's first complaint. Other students, other families have raised concerns about how he treats students of color. So either nobody's been paying attention or nobody's been caring. Which is it?" Morrison had no answer. I could see the administrators mentally scrambling, trying to contain this explosion. "Let me make something clear," I said, loud enough for every ear. "I didn't come here looking for a confrontation. I came to take my granddaughter to lunch. To be a normal grandfather doing normal grandfather things. But what I walked into, what Maya experienced this morning, that's not normal. That's not acceptable. And if I have to use every ounce of influence I possess to ensure it never happens again, not just to Maya, but to any student in this school, I will." I looked around at the watching faces. Some of you have probably experienced what Maya experienced. Maybe not this exact situation, but something similar. Being treated like you don't belong. Being judged by your skin instead of your character. Being made to feel less than. I see you. I hear you. And I want you to know it's not okay. You deserve better. Then I did something that surprised even me. I looked back at Hanson, and instead of continuing to eviscerate him, I took a different path. "You can be better than this," I told him. "I don't know what's in your heart. I don't know what experiences shaped you into someone who treats kids this way. But I know people can change. People can learn. People can choose to grow. You have a choice right now. You can be defensive, make excuses, blame everyone but yourself. Or you can look in the mirror and ask yourself some hard questions about your biases, your assumptions, your behavior. The first path keeps you exactly where you are. The second path, that's harder, but it leads somewhere better." I paused, letting it land. "I'm not saying I forgive you. That's not mine to give, it's Maya's. And I'm not saying there shouldn't be consequences. There absolutely should be. But I am saying I hope you choose to learn from this. Because if you don't, you'll keep hurting people. And eventually it'll destroy you. Hanson's eyes watered. Whether from shame, anger, or genuine remorse, I couldn't tell. But something had penetrated. I put my arm around Maya's shoulders. I'm taking my granddaughter to lunch now. We're going somewhere quiet, somewhere she feels safe. And we're going to talk about her classes, her friends, her dreams, all the things we should have been talking about today instead of this. I started walking, then turned back one final time. Oh, and one more thing. To everyone recording this, and I know many of you are, I want you to share this. Post it everywhere. Not because I want attention, but because I want people to see what happens when authority goes unchecked. I want parents to see what their kids might be dealing with. I want other officers to see what not to do. And I want other kids like Maya to know they're not alone. That what happened to them matters. And that sometimes, just sometimes, justice shows up when you need it most. With that, I walked out of Lincoln High School with my arm around Maya, leaving behind a hallway full of stunned students, mortified administrators, and one thoroughly humiliated police officer who'd learned the hard way that mocking someone for telling the truth can backfire spectacularly. Maya and I went to a quiet diner 20 minutes away. We sat in a corner booth, and for a while, we didn't speak about what happened. We just sat there, processing, breathing. Eventually, Maya opened up. I didn't want to tell him you were my grandfather, she said quietly. I usually don't tell people. But he was saying things about my family, making assumptions, and I wanted him to know he was wrong about us. You had every right to stand up for yourself and our family, I told her. You did nothing wrong. Nothing. You hear me? She nodded, but the pain lingered in her eyes. When he laughed, Grandpa, I've never felt so small, so powerless, like nothing I said mattered because of how I look. That broke my heart clean in half. I reached across the table and took her hand. Listen to me, Maya. You matter. Your voice matters. Your truth matters. What that officer did, that was about his ignorance, his prejudice, his failure as a human being. It was never about you. You are brilliant and beautiful and worthy of respect. And anyone who can't see that is blind. We talked for 2 hours. About racism. About power. About navigating the world as a black woman connected to privilege through me, but still experiencing discrimination because of her skin. About how unfair it is that she has to think about things I've never had to consider. About my anger that I couldn't protect her from everything. You did protect me today, Maya said. You showed up. You stood up for me. You made him apologize. You made everyone see what happened. That matters, Grandpa. That really matters. I drove her back to school after lunch. She didn't want to go, understandably, but I told her what my mother told me when facing something difficult. Don't let them see you run. Hold your head high, walk back in there, and show them they didn't break you. Maya went back to class, and I went home, but I couldn't stop replaying it all. Over the next days, the video went viral. Millions watched. News outlets covered it. People debated it endlessly online. Some said I did the right thing. Others accused me of using my celebrity to bully Hanson. That criticism stung at first until I realized something. The people claiming I bullied Hanson had no problem with him bullying Maya. Their issue wasn't with bullying. Their issue was with who held the power in that moment. Hanson was eventually fired. An investigation uncovered a pattern of discriminatory behavior toward students of color. Other families came forward with their own stories. The school district implemented new policies about police presence in schools, training on implicit bias, strict rules about when and how officers could interact with students. Maya testified at a school board meeting about her experience. Watching her stand there, voice shaking but strong, telling her story, I'd never been prouder. She wasn't speaking just for herself. She was speaking for every kid who'd been treated the same way and didn't have someone to defend them. What my grandfather did that day, Maya told the school board, wasn't special because he's famous. It was special because he showed up. Because he believed me. Because he used his voice to protect me. Every kid deserves that. Every kid deserves to have someone who will stand up for them when they're being mistreated. And every kid deserves to go to school without being scared of the people who are supposed to protect them. The room erupted in applause. Parents wept. Students cheered. I sat in the back row, fighting tears, thinking about how this young woman, my granddaughter, had transformed something painful into something powerful. I'm telling you this story tonight because it contains lessons that reach beyond what happened to Maya. First, believe people when they tell you about their experiences with discrimination. Don't dismiss it. Don't minimize it. Don't explain away. Just listen and believe. I've lived 94 years on this earth, most of them as a white man with increasing amounts of privilege and power. There are things about this world I'll never fully understand because I haven't experienced them. But I can listen. I can believe. I can stand in solidarity. And so can you. Second, use whatever platform you have, whether it's fame, position, education, or just being an adult in a room full of kids, to stand up for what's right. I happened to be Clint Eastwood when I walked into that hallway. Yes, that gave me power in that situation. But you know what? Every adult has power compared to a child. Every person who witnesses injustice has a choice. Speak up or stay silent. Use your voice. Use your presence. Show up for people who need someone in their corner. Third, consequences matter. Hanson apologized. That was necessary. But it wasn't enough. He needed to face real consequences for his behavior. And the system needed to change to prevent future Hansons from doing the same thing to other kids. Apologies without accountability are just words floating in empty air. And finally, this is important. Don't let anger turn into hatred. When I walked into that hallway, I was furious. I wanted to tear into Hanson with everything I had. And I did call him out firmly and publicly. But I also chose, in the end, to leave him with a path forward, to tell him he could be better. Because if we write everyone off as irredeemable, if we don't leave room for growth and change, we're not solving anything. We're just perpetuating cycles of hurt. That doesn't mean Maya or any other victim of discrimination has to forgive or forget. It means that as people with power, as people with platforms, we have a responsibility to call out injustice, while also pointing towards something better. A few months after everything happened, I received a letter from Hanson. I almost didn't read it. I was still angry, still processing. But eventually I opened it. He wrote, "Mr. Eastwood, I know this letter can't undo what I did. I know saying sorry isn't enough. But I want you to know that what happened in that hallway changed me. I've been in therapy. I've been doing serious work on my implicit biases and behavior. I'm not asking for forgiveness or a second chance at the school. I know I don't deserve that. But I wanted you to know you were right. I could be better. And I'm trying to be. I don't know if Hanson has truly changed. I hope he has. But that's between him and his conscience, between him and God if he believes in God, between him and the people he wronged. What I know is this: Maya is okay. More than okay. She's thriving. She's using her voice and her experience to advocate for other students. She's thinking about law or education policy, about making systemic changes so fewer kids have to endure what she endured. And me? I'm just her grandfather. That's the role I'm most proud of, more than any movie I've made or award I've won. I'm the grandfather who showed up when his granddaughter needed him, who stood up for her when someone tried to make her feel small, who used whatever power he had to protect her and push for something better. That's what I'm asking all of you to do, in whatever way you can. Show up. Stand up. Use your voice. Believe people when they tell you their truth. Demand accountability. But also leave room for redemption, for growth, for change. Because that's how we make the world better, not through one big gesture, but through a million small choices to do right by each other, to protect the vulnerable, to challenge injustice, and to never, ever stay silent when someone needs us to speak up. A cop laughed at my granddaughter for saying Clint Eastwood was her grandfather. Then I stepped into that hallway. What happened next wasn't about me being a hero. It was about being human, being decent, being a grandfather who loves his granddaughter and refuses to let anyone treat her as less than she is. That's my story, and I hope it inspires you to write your own stories of standing up, speaking out, and showing up when it matters most.